Welcome to today's video, ladies and gentlemen. It is a little bit different intro than usual. As you can see, I'm doing a point of view type of action setup with the camera, so hope the sound and the video quality is up to par, and I hope you're having a splendid day. And I am Maz as usual, and today we will do a long-awaited long-term review of the Ulter Sport Exhaust system. I hope this comes through. I don't know how it is with the lighting, etc. We'll see when we get to the editing, but I did do a installation video of this exhaust system together with the so-called diffuser, as I called it and call it still, and there were a lot of people that thought it was like a clickbait video, etc. But I did mention that there won't be any sound or video as such, or review of the exhaust itself, because in my opinion a exhaust system needs to have some break-in period before it sounds like it's supposed to, if that makes any sense. So hence I waited with doing a sound review of it. I do have a driving review, so to speak, or a driving only sound video. I'll link it up above, to the right or left. I can't even know which way at the moment. So, and I also will link to the installation video of this Ulter exhaust system. So as you may or may not know, the system comes with this central type exhaust, and I think it is two 90mm exhaust tips, and also together with this so-called diffuser. Again, sorry that I call it a diffuser, but I mean it's just for looks and nothing else. It's just a piece of plastic. So when I did install this, I won't go into so much into the details. I had to get longer bolts to tighten it to the mid pipe, and also the diffuser I did install it, so it is a screw sitting under here, and one screw here, one screw here, and one screw over there that goes into the black OEM trim piece, which is sitting on the rear bumper. And also I did install 3M tape alongside the diffuser on the inside of the diffuser, 3M VHB tape, but that didn't hold up. So that is something you need to consider if you want to do this. You might have to do a permanent or semi-permanent installation with regards to the diffuser, but as you can see, it is sitting nice and tight at the moment, and that is because, as you may or may not know, my car has been at a workshop and I had some paint repairs, etc. that needed to be done. And then the day before I was going to pick up the car, they said, yeah, your diffuser is loose, and I said, yeah, I know, because I want to fix it as a winter project. The time came, I picked up the car and I saw they had already fixed the diffuser, and Ulter themselves says that you should use, instead of 3M tape, you should use some sort of a glue similar to what you would use on the windshield in the front, that type of glue. But that type of glue, if you do use that, but if you want to rip off the diffuser at some point in time, it might be that the paint comes off with it. So I didn't want to go that route, and that's why I went with the 3M VHB tape. And the shop then said they have actually used some sort of tape in this area here. I'm not sure exactly which one, because I couldn't get a clear answer on that. And also what they have done, they actually dabbed pieces of glue from the underside in some spots, holding it in place. So we'll see if I'll take it apart or not, because I don't know if you can see that the diffuser is sitting a little bit lower than what I had it before. Previously I had it up here, now it is down here, and the exhaust tips are touching the diffuser part, and it started to melt a little bit. So that is one thing you need to consider when getting the system on, how to attach the diffuser, and also do not have it too far down, because it can start to melt. So we'll see if we still have to tackle this as a winter project. So before we get on with the actual review of the Ulter system, let's have a look from the outside. And one of the main reasons I got this was, of course, for the visual aspects, and in my opinion it looks much more aggressive than any of the exhausts that come out to on the right side. There are other center exit exhausts as well, which are nice in my opinion, but I went with this route. It wasn't that expensive. I think I paid around 690 euros or so to get it here in Europe then, and I got it from eBay. I'll link it down below where I got it from. So from a visual aspect, in the rear end, I think it did a great improvement. The car looks much more toadier, if that makes sense. And yeah, so in my opinion, from a visual aspect point of view, it did exactly what I wanted to do, and it looks really nice. So what I will be trying to do with today's video is I will have the camera in the car and we will drive around, and I will put in some clips, off camera clips that I have done, so to speak, with some revving, with some drive-by, some cold start, etc, and I will try to cover the aspects which I think is of interest for you out there considering this exhaust system. And as you may or may not seen, the car is very orange, so we have a 30th anniversary 2019 ND2 MX5 then, and this is one of 49 here in Sweden, and I love it. The color is spectacular, and I don't regret it a bit that I got this actual version of the ND2 then. And as you may or may not know, we have the Advan TC4 wheels here, 17x8 ET35, yeah, in umber bronze. So that is that with regards to the intro. But before we continue the video, if you do like today's video, give it a big thumbs up. That would help me a lot. And also do remember to subscribe if you like the content of the channel for similar content like this, track days and car detailing and so on. But with that said, let's go out for a drive. Let's talk about how it all starts. Let's talk about the cold starts. And I thought I'll mention this if you're worried I will sound too loud, etc. If you have neighbors to think of, or animals, or I don't know, whatnot. By my opinion, you have to take this with a from my perspective of seeing it. So I did own a 2018 Mustang GT with a Borla attack system. Even though the car had OPF filters, it was much louder than this car, obviously. And that car had a quiet mode which you could activate during the mornings, etc. But with that said, in my opinion, the cold start of this system, then it is louder than the OEM one, but it is nothing that I think is worth mentioning. Of course, on the first initial few seconds when the car do that extra blip when you start it, and also having that higher startup rev process, so to speak, it sounds a little bit higher. But then once it settles, it's not that loud at all. It is just that initial moment when you start the car then. So I hope that gave you some insight of what the cold starts are with the Ulter Sport Exhaust system. I leave it up to you if you think it sounds too loud, it sounds nice, it sounds too little, etc. In my opinion, it could have sounded a little bit more because this is not my daily, and I started in the garage, so I don't care that much with regards to the initial startup and how it sounds. I mean, it is a sporty car, so in my opinion, it's okay if it sounds a little bit when you're starting it. So with that said, what happens then once we go on with our driving and putting around in the neighborhood in the morning then, or whatever, or it might be, or if you're just cruising along. And in my opinion, the system is very quiet. Let's say it starts singing, if you want to speak, at from 5,000 RPM or so. Below that, it is actually quite quiet. But what is to consider, in my opinion, is at around 3,000 and below, when you let off the throttle, it actually has boominess to it. And specifically, if you are in first gear and you do engine brake the car, so let's say you're just putting around at around 10 kilometers an hour or so, and it's a slight slope, then you get quite a bit of boominess, which is quite irritating, I have to say. But unfortunately, I'm not driving that much in those speeds. It's only when I'm driving up to the house or potentially coming to a stop at a red light, etc. But that is something to consider. And now I'm doing 1,600 RPM or so in fourth gear. I can hear a little bit of boominess. I can hear it, but that is nothing that makes me ill or similar. But I need to mention that, in my opinion, I do hear it. I'm doing 1,900 RPM or so now in fourth gear, doing 50 kilometers an hour almost, and I can hear it. And I don't know if you can hear this. So we are engine braking in fourth gear, but we can hear that move. It is not ear-shattering, so to speak, but it is there. So it is something for you to consider if you might be dailing this and if that type of sound irritates you, or if it's nothing that you want to have. So just putting around and doing these type of speeds and these type of RPMs, in my opinion, then you can hear this exhaust as such. Some part of it is obviously that the actual exhaust is a little bit louder, but there is some boominess which you need to consider. And in my opinion, it is less boomy inside the cabin when I'm actually having the top down compared to top up. I don't know if that's weird or if that's me. It should be the other way around, because then we are creating a little box when the roof is down then. But yeah, with it up like this and we come to a halt and just engine brake it, there is this type of sound then. But again, it's not too much. And when you do those heel toes and you blip it enough, it makes a nice sound. Once you get up to speed at say around 60, 70, 80 kilometers an hour and keeping constant speed and RPM, there is not much to be heard of the exhaust as such. It is when you start getting into the higher RPM range, let's say you get onto the freeway or highway and then you get up to around 110, 120, 130, then at around 3,000 RPM you will start hear the exhaust. And again, then that's not potentially any boominess or any drone, etc. It's just that the exhaust is obviously louder, so it is the exhaust note itself as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean it is having any drone, but it can be heard. And I have to be honest, I don't remember how the OEM system was around those speeds, so take my word for it or not, but there is some sound at those speeds as well. But between 60 to 70, 80, 90 kilometers an hour, it is a very, very, very subtle sound you hear, so not too much at all. I thought I'll go on to this 100 kilometer an hour stretch, and again then not much change from 80. It's still a lot of wind noise, and it's mainly the wind noise. You can hear a slight hint of the exhaust. We'll go the other way around later on, and I'll have the roof closed, and we'll talk a little bit of how it sounds on highway speed. So if I take this up to 110 kilometers an hour, it is barely noticeable with the top up then. So let's make the on-ramp with the roof down, I mean, sorry. And you can definitely hear more of the exhaust because there is not that much wind noise, and it is a very nice noise or sound or note or whatever you want to call it. It is actually quite sporty sound, if that makes any sense at all. But doing around 100 kilometers an hour or so, we are in an uphill, you can hear a slight from the exhaust. So again, then that's something to consider. That noise or that sound was not as apparent when we have the roof up because we have all the wind noise, etc. So now let's talk a little bit more about the fun stuff, which is what the car sounds like or how the exhaust sounds when you're punching it a little bit. As I mentioned, below 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, it doesn't happen, that much doesn't happen, but you still hear it, but it's not that loud in my opinion, and in my opinion it could have actually sounded a little bit higher, so to speak, with regards to when you're pushing it. But we have something in the garage for that, so stay tuned until the end of the video and I'll talk a little bit about what that is. But if we start pushing it a little bit, so I'm in 4th gear, 4,000, can hear it a little bit, 5,000, now it starts singing, 6,000, 7,000. But at this stage, it's so much wind noise, you cannot hear the exhaust at all, unfortunately. Once the top is down, you actually can hear some more of the exhaust then. But with the top up at those speeds that I was doing now, I won't say how much I was doing, but around 7,000 then on 4th gear. You can calculate how much speed we had, but we are in Autobahn. So it does start singing quite much from 5,000 upwards. Below, not that much. But there are no crackles and bangs or pops, unfortunately, so none of that when you're letting off the throttle as you're accelerating. But there is a boom when you let off, which is quite nice, but it's not anything that pops or cracks. So I'll play a little bit of a video how the system sounds revving and standing still, and some acceleration and some drive-bys, and that might give you a feel for what it sounds like. So I hope the clip from the outside gave you an idea what it sounds like when revving it, and also giving it the beans, so to speak. And in my opinion, that was actually the first time I heard my car from the outside, believe it or not. By my opinion, it actually sounds nicer from the outside than on the inside when you're giving a go. I don't know if that makes any sense, but unfortunately that's the way it is, and usually that's the way it is with many exhausts. It sounds nicer from the outside, unless you have like a Ferrari or whatever and whatnot, and obviously this is not a Ferrari. So that is that. But in my opinion, the tone is, when you're on it, it is not raspy or anything like that. It is actually a mix of a bassier sound, but it is still a little bit high pitched, but it is not raspy, as when you have a Mustang, let's say. I don't know if that is a reference for you, or any other car with an X pipe as an example. It's not that type of sound. It is still quite bassy, actually, to be honest, even when you give it a full throttle then, and not only putting around. So in my opinion, that is nice. And again, I think it could have sounded more. So we have something for that in the garage, and we will get to that by the end of the video. And it is not a header, but hopefully it will bring out some more sound, and hopefully not too much sound, but let's see. So that was that with regards to the driving impressions from my point of view for the Ulter exhaust system. I hope it has given you some insight what it sounds like. So with that said, let's head on back to the garage and we'll wrap the video up. So we are back at the garage. Hope you enjoyed today's video and it gave you some insight of what the Ulter exhaust system is like and sounds like. And also, if you have any questions at all with regards to the Ulter system, just let me know in the comment sections below, or any questions with regards to the ND2, etc. I do enjoy getting the comments because that gives me more than just me talking to you. Then I can appreciate the things I'm doing is right or not. So leave your comments or questions down below. But before we end the video, we have something that I wanted to show you that will enhance the sound department, at least, or hopefully on the sound department. So it is a mid pipe from a company called Aros. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And it's an Italian company. I saw a person with an ND Miata, I can't remember if it was an ND1 or ND2, that had bought a system from them. So I asked, and then I placed my order, and this has been sitting as many things for months now, and hopefully we will install it before the season is over. So the mid pipe doesn't have a catalytic converter, nor does it have a muffler. The OEM muffler do have a catalytic converter and a small muffler at the end. So this one doesn't have any of that. So stay tuned when we install that. It is only one more month left or so with the season, so hopefully we can install it this year and see what it sounds like. But that was all with regards to today's video. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked it, and also do remember to subscribe to see videos with the installation of the muffler, etc. But with that said, I'll be seeing you on the next one.